You're listening to Not So Live from Asteroid G. I'm Mike Finkelstein. With me, as always, is...
Josh Schaefer.
Yes. So, Mr. Schaefer.
Yes.
Should I say Leonardo Schaefer?
Leonardo.
Yes. That is the only way I can figure to segue into a discussion about the Kevin Smith movies, specifically the View Askew movies, because his whole little New Jersey universe that started as a trilogy and is now going on 6 or 7 movies. Yeah. It's the only way I can think to discuss them. And it's partially because I just haven't seen anything he's done that isn't related to those movies.
Yeah, I don't think... Well, Yoga Hosers, I don't think was...
It wasn't. I have, we'll get to this.
Yeah.
But he started off, famously, putting $50,000 in credit on his various credit cards he was able to get, and then filming a movie. I mean, it's not much of a movie.
Oh, it's a great movie.
It's a fantastic movie, but by cinematic standards, it's not a movie. It's I think he's famously been told by producers, when he was trying to get a second movie made, he was like, I made Clerks. And he's like, that's not a movie. Clerks is a fantastic movie for what it is. A simple day in the life in the vein of a Dazed and Confused or any one of those kinds of just teens living their lives, except it's 20-something slackers, basically guys who are past the point where they can drink alcohol and still haven't figured out their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just one day in this life of this clerk who can't get his shit together.
I mean, it's perfectly 90s too.
It is perfectly 90s with
so
the
angsty
angst and the grunge music and the people wearing flannel.
It still holds up. I worked retail for a while, and that movie holds a very, very special place in my heart.
In certain ways, it is hugely accurate when it's mocking customers and other things. Of course, other things haven't aged well. There's no longer video stores like that.
Unfortunately.
I know. But no, he had a set that he could use, the store he worked at, and he could film there after work, which is part of the reason why they kept the shutters closed during the whole movie, so they didn't have to have daylight streaming in or night or whatever. It's some brilliant mechanics he did to get a movie made with no budget.
Yeah. And I can't think of another film that's had that sort of success with such a shoestring budget. I mean, $50,000 sounds like a lot of money, but in the movie world, that's nothing.
It's nothing. That's one day of filming for most people. Even when they talk about shoestring budgets, the minimum you can even think to do is $500,000. You can't make a movie for less than that and have it be a movie. Yeah, it's to his credit, he did.
That was back in the day of actual film too. So
yeah,
every shot had to count.
At $50,000 was basically everything he had, and it's all in the film. It's right there. I mean, he had more takes and reshoots than I think Robert Rodriguez for Desperado, because that's the other movie I can think of when people talk about, shoestring budget. I think he said he had $7,000, and that covered film. And he could film each take once, and then he had to move on because there was no filming it again.
Yeah, and that movie was good too. And didn't he get all of his money from doing medical experiments on himself?
Famously, he did every medical experiment he could sign up, got as much money as he could, and then he made a movie out of it.
Yeah, Desperado's great. And Reservoir Dogs as well.
El Mariachi first.
El Mariachi. Yeah, I know what you meant. El Mariachi was
the first one, El Mariachi, was the $7,000 one. Desperado was him basically making the same movie but with a budget. Yeah.
And it was phenomenal.
Oh, it's fantastic. El Mariachi is not quite as good, but for a start to the series, it's pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you consider that it cost $7,000.
Yeah. And all the extras were just 2 dudes wearing wigs.
Yeah. Fake shipping their way through everything.
Yeah, and Quentin Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs too was I don't think that was that expensive.
No, that's not. And the Evil Dead, the first one, that's a cheapie. Yeah. There's something to be said for cheapy few $1,000 movies that certainly primes a skilled filmmaker who doesn't know he's skilled yet into making something interesting. But Clerks.
Mm-hmm.
So with Clerks, I mean, it certainly resonates with you.
Yeah, I would say it's the best of the Kevin Smith movies.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
I would.
Okay, you can. It resonates with me because I did work at a video store, so that half of it, and the crap that Randall says to those customers, I
just wish I had 1/100th of his balls.
I know. Well, that's what happens when you have a store where you can't get fired because no one else will ever show up. Dante has to go to work because everyone keeps calling in and no one else will work the shift. Randall knows no one's going to show up to work that shift, so he can get away with whatever the fuck he wants.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, but small part of me has always viewed Randall as one of my spirit animals.
Randall is interesting. Randall, however, is a classic Kevin Smith character in that he's the guy you're not supposed to be.
Yeah.
He's the funny guy, and there's always a Banky and whatever other version of it that Jason Lee normally plays. For a while there, it was the Jason Lee character was not being played by the guy who plays Randall. The guy who says the dumb crap, and you're like, he's funny, I like him, but you're also not supposed to want to be him.
I think in Clerks it was... I think Randall gets kind of the bad rap because Dante, I think, is the guy you don't want to be. Because Randall...
Arguably, yes.
Because Randall has his moments where he's kind of a shitbird, but...
He has a backbone.
Yeah, but he has a backbone, and he actually adheres to his own ethical standards.
Code.
Yeah.
His own code.
And Dante's kind of just like I'm not supposed to be here, where Randall would be like, then don't come in.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, just don't pick up the phone even. You're done.
Yeah.
I like Clerks for what it is, and I think it's funny. I don't think it's as good a movie, but I do think Mallrats is funnier.
Mallrats is probably my third favorite Kevin Smith movie. We skipped over Chasing Amy.
No, Mallrats was second.
Was it?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Well,
Mallrats was the movie that they're like, oh, you can make movies. So they gave him a budget, and then afterwards they realized, oh, you can't make movies.
Like, I like Mallrats for what it is, but...
That's how I have to always qualify it. I like it for what it is.
Yeah.
I will say I prefer the extended edition they did.
Yeah.
Yes. Where, like, there's a whole different intro. It's not as funny. It's not as tight a movie and not as funny, but I think it's a more complete story.
Yeah. And the reason I don't like Mallrats, though... Well, I don't not like Mallrats, but when I worked at the comic book store, like, everything about that movie...
Reminds you of the people that used to go there?
Yeah, and it's not funny in real life. It's sad.
It is sad. I will agree with that. I will fully agree that, like, I know people who are like that, and there were times where I'd go and hang out in a mall like that and just, not buy anything and just wander around drinking my soda.
That was in the 90s,
It was the 90s. That's what you did.
Yeah.
When you didn't have anything better to do, you did that.
Yeah. Well, there was the arcade and... Mm-hmm.
But it's again why I actually really enjoy the extended cut is that the characters are given story and drive that they're missing from the regular theatrical edition. And they feel more complete. It feels like a much more complete story. I can totally see why Mallrats bombed when it came out. One, how do you advertise a movie like that?
Yeah.
A weird hanging out, another day in the life of these people, but these people just aren't interesting.
Yeah. And my biggest issue with Mallrats 2 was... It just felt like they were just doing joke lines, and
it's a very jokey movie.
It just felt, and I think Kevin Smith's biggest problem, especially in his early works after Clerks, was he just got fucked by studios over and over again. And like even with Clerks, though, like if you watch the original cut of it, it's
the original cut's not that great.
No, but I think Mallrats, like I think he's always had an issue with the editing part of his movies because. He reminds me of someone watching like the Evenings with Kevin Smith's. That dude can talk about one topic for hours.
He's done 4 or 5 of them, and I think it was the 4th one where he calls someone up to do questions, and he says right beforehand, okay, we're gonna try and get through a lot of these. Because I have a tendency to just talk for a while, and I want to see if we can get through a lot of questions. So we're going to burn through these questions as fast as possible. So one guy asks a question. He goes, okay, we're going to be here for a bit. And the entire 2-hour evening with Kevin Smith is the one question.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I feel like his movies are the same. Like, he has a lot going on in his brain, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because I do too, but he films all of it.
He has a hard time letting go. He has said that he honestly has a hard time with people saying dialogue any way other than the way he envisions it in his head. And it's clear that his movies are like that too. Yeah.
Which is fine. And so like it works for the Coen brothers. Like
but sometimes editing is important.
Yeah, and he reminds me like when I did film for a little bit, my biggest issue was like, no, I need this scene in there. This scene ties into this one other part. But I'm the only one that knows that. And I feel like especially with like when you watch Dogma, it feels like there's like scenes in there that probably
not to get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. We'll save that. But like some of his movies just are cut in a sense where it seems like he has ideas or interconnecting scenes, and sometimes those scenes are cut out. but he wants to. So they're just kind
certainly it does. I think to your point is it does feel like he has a certain vision for what he wants to do, whether that vision works or not.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly his later movies, Red State, Tusk, Yoga Hosers, where he's just making movies on a lark. Like the biggest complaint I hear about those movies is that it's just like everything he can think of is filmed, and there's whether it works or not, it's all on screen.
Yeah.
So, and his early movies, I would probably agree with you on this. Certainly, there are some times where everything he thinks is funny is what makes it into the movie, whether it works or not. So, the theatrical cut of Mallrats is funnier because it's all the funny scenes, but it's also not as strong a movie as the longer take where different cut takes are used and a longer intro and outro is available that better fleshes out the characters.
Yeah.
So, okay. So then we have Chasing Amy, this third one, which he made for $220,000 after the studio gave him a bunch of money, and then he blew it on Mallrats.
Yeah. I know a lot of people love Chasing Amy, but I don't get it.
I liked it the first time I watched it. The first couple times I watched it, I felt like the message and the story it was telling, the love story that's in there was powerful. I go back and watch it now, and it feels very dated.
Yeah, and I think that's because I didn't see it until probably like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, and it doesn't work now, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure at the time it was like this huge picture that was like, I could see how some of the themes weren't represented in other films of the same time period.
Well, it's the Ben Affleck character. I can't remember what his name is. It doesn't matter. It's Ben Affleck. His character feels, even though he's supposed to be the voice of Kevin Smith, because he's basically just saying what Kevin Smith thought.
Yeah.
For a relationship he was in that inspired him to write this movie. It feels like a very dated perspective on lesbian and bisexual culture that makes the character almost feel like an entitled MRA guy now. Even though back in the day we didn't have that term. Yeah. Like it may have worked then, but now the character just feels like
cringy.
he's cringy and close-minded and can't get over himself, and whether that's where Kevin Smith was at the time, it's not where Kevin Smith is now, and I don't even think he can relate to the character as it is. It's
I think it was a lot of it's Hollywooded up, but I don't know, it didn't like.
Yay for representation at the time. It doesn't play anymore.
No.
Yeah. I haven't gone back and watched Dogma recently, which was his fourth movie.
I did watch it recently. Yeah. Like, I love Dogma.
Yeah.
Minus one thing that...
Bethany?
Yes.
Yeah, the lead character.
The lead character.
Yeah.
Like, Janine Garofalo should have played her. Like,
wasn't she supposed to?
She was supposed to, but the studio wanted the
other chick, whatever her name was.
Of Men in Black, I think it was.
Yeah, and like she was so terrible, Kevin Smith refuses to ever work with her again.
I don't think she's ever had a career after that.
No, because she's terrible.
She's terrible.
On-set nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what people say.
Yeah.
But she just couldn't act, and like she just felt wooden the entire time. Like, you had a great cast all around you, and the story was pretty solid, but like it just didn't.
No,
like, I didn't like her.
No, she was not good in the role. Janine Garofalo would have been fantastic in the role.
Yeah, she was in there for like 4 minutes, and she was great.
Her one sequence was fantastic, and if they would have just swapped the two actresses, Janine would have sold the hell out of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
but yeah, I liked the message behind it, and I thought it was ballsy for the time, and still is, really.
It really still is, with considering the way the world is. Like, all religion is good, and just be true to what you think and whatever.
Yeah, and more power to them.
Yeah. So, it doesn't get talked about much anymore. There's other movies that handle the religion aspect more strongly, and I don't know, it's just it does feel a bit dated. It's not his funniest work.
No, and I don't think he meant it to be super funny.
But it's the same thing. Like, I don't go back and willingly watch Chasing Amy regularly because it's not a very funny movie, and he's good with funny. He's not as good with drama.
Right.
And Dogma's not as funny as it could be, and even some of the stuff that probably was funny at the time, I don't know if it would be as funny now.
I mean, I still chuckle at it. Like, it's definitely more of a dramedy, I think. I mean, because you have like George Carlin and Chris Rock and Ben Affleck and Matt Damon and Alan Rickman. Matt Damon. Side thing, like a few years ago, this is not anything Kevin Smith related, but Matt Damon related, but he did a Reddit Ask Me Anything, and someone asked him what his favorite role was, and he said Team America. And every time I think of Matt Damon now, like, I was like, did he do that? Was that actually him? It wasn't, but I don't know.
I like that he claims it, though. Yeah. That's awesome.
But anyway, this isn't about Team America.
No, we can make it about Team America if you want to.
We'll do that next time.
So, after Dogma was Jay and Silent Bob.
I liked that movie. I know
I liked it at the time when it came out.
I just watched it again, and some of it's kind of cringy.
A lot of it's cringy. Even the second time I went back and watched it, I'm like, wait, I liked this when it came out. What was I watching? Kevin Smith, I think, famously said after he showed it to his mom that she was like, you guys ran around a lot. And that was her whole comment on the movie. And that's what it feels like. It's like it's a lot of dumb jokes and just them running around, but it doesn't really have a strong connective tissue. And it's hard to argue that the two leads, Jay and Silent Bob, in any way, shape, or form grow from their adventure across the country. No.
But I don't know if you've ever read the they do. But I don't know if you ever read the old Kevin Smith, Jay and Silent Bob comic books. But that movie is pretty much all their short stories.
The Chasing Dogma?
Yeah.
Yeah, the connective tissue between them.
Mm-hmm.
That was supposed to explain how they got from to Illinois from Chasing Amy to Dogma. And then he just basically reused a huge portion of that for the Jay and Silent Bob movie.
Yeah. It's pretty funny, but...
Yeah.
There's some jokes that I liked, but...
There are funny moments.
But going back and watching, like, everything with the, like, femme fatale diamond robbers...
Oh, it's so terrible.
Cringy.
That whole plot line. And, like, even in that movie, you can see his wife cannot act.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Kevin Smith, but...
You keep trying to put her in there, and more power to you. Try to make a career for your wife and for your daughter now, and...
His daughter can... She can
act better than the wife can.
Yeah.
She's not great, but she's not
She
terrible.
can grow into it, though.
She could grow into it in the way that Channing Tatum grew into his. Yeah, like there's you get a start, and you can grow, and if you get the material, you can become a fine actor.
Yeah, and I get putting your wife and stuff to have her involved with your projects. Like, I can't fault him for it.
If you're only getting a few $100,000 to make a movie, you do what you want.
But I feel like she has, especially, I think the next movie would be Clerks II.
Yes.
Like, especially in Clerks II.
She's cringy.
Yeah.
She doesn't work. There's a lot about that movie that really does work.
Yeah, I love Clerks II almost as much as I love Clerks 1.
I actually like it better. The only part that I find detracts from the movie at all for me is the random dance sequence in the middle that just doesn't work. Like, I know he was doing it just for the hell of it, and he wanted to like have a heightened reality all of a sudden, but the rest of that movie and the first movie are very grounded, and that part of the movie just doesn't work for me at all.
No, but you gotta see Rosario Dawson dance on the roof, so...
And if it had just been the two of them... been the two of them with a jukebox dancing on the rooftop, it would have worked fine.
But the rest of it,
like a big dance sequence in the parking lot, doesn't work for me at all. No.
Mm-mm.
So, but no, I really do enjoy that movie. But we are missing something in between all of that.
The Clerks animated series.
Clerks, the animated series, which, in my opinion, is his finest work ever.
Yes, I will agree with that.
It only went 6 episodes and is the funniest thing he has ever done.
I mean, it's probably one of the funniest cartoons.
Yeah.
Like, I laugh. I've seen that stupid show 150,000 times.
I'll watch it more times than I can, bear, and I will still quote the living hell out of it. We have accidentally started quoting it in the middle of these podcasts. It's just so good.
Domo Toshiro-san.
Why are we walking like this? It's just so many good lines in only 6 episodes. I'm sure if it had gone any longer, it would have stopped being funny at a certain point, but there's such brilliance packed in those 6 that I wish it had gotten at least another 6 just so it could have had more for me to quote.
Yeah, it was just ridiculous.
It was so ridiculous.
And I think it was honestly ahead of its time. And if it came out now, or even 5 years after it came out originally, put it on Adult Swim or something, it wouldn't have had any issues because there's...
No, it would have been fantastic. The thing is, you couldn't get the Kevin Smith now to make that movie because I tried to watch the... Jay and Silent Bob's super groovy whatever movie on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
That was wretched.
Yes.
So bad.
That was a paycheck movie.
Lost his spark. There's a lot of his movies that have come out lately there. It's just like, you're a funny dude, but at this point, I'd rather watch you just talk on stage than actually make movies.
So, I have a theory. He started smoking weed.
Yes.
And I feel like there's some correlation between him starting smoking weed and him not smoking weed.
You always hear about like artists doing heroin and like cocaine
Yeah.
and like suddenly finding their zone and becoming really into their art and whatever. You never hear about artists really getting stoned on pot and getting committed to their art. They get committed to a couch with like a big bowl of macaroni and cheese.
Yeah, I mean, like, smoke the weed if you wants to.
Yeah.
But, like, maybe don't make movies, but...
I mean, he's done some stuff that I haven't hated. Cop Out I thought was amusing for what it was.
It was okay.
Even though it was just basically him directing, he didn't really do that much on it. And, like, some of the little filler things here and there, he certainly helped to bring the fourth Die Hard movie together in a way that, like, actually functioned, apparently since that script was unfinished when they started filming. He's not a bad writer.
No.
It's just,
I think he
finds funny now is not what I find funny.
And so I think I alluded to this, but I also have like I want to say a personal vendetta.
You do at least a little bit have an issue with Kevin Smith at this point.
He's kind of a dick. I mean, when I was a younger, not jaded or cynical person, I had the body of a Greek god.
You keep him in your closet.
I do. He's under here somewhere. I just have to stop eating pizza rolls so much.
Your pizza sacks.
My pizza sacks.
You have to stop eating pizza sacks.
Still accepting some offers. Kevin Smith, I will forgive you if you fund pizza sacks. But when I was, I guess, coming out of the nerd closet a little bit.
Younger Josh.
Still straight. But 2005 Josh was, a couple years out of high school. In college.
Accepting he was a nerd, finally.
Yeah, because I wasn't getting beat up for being like, well, I like Star Wars and Star Trek.
Yeah.
But, so, like, I worked at the comic book store while I was in college, so I wasn't a manager or anything, just a clerk. Get it? Clerk. So I had a friend of mine who took me to my first comic book show in Chicago.
He broke your cherry.
He did break my cherry. We had a room full of nerds. Like, there was, like, I think... 8 of us.
Oh God, the smell must have been awful.
No, like we got super lucky because the hotel we were staying at accidentally double booked us, so they gave us the super suite.
Yeah.
So like it was like a 2-story, it had like a spiral staircase in it, and they didn't charge us any extra because they screwed up. So we got lucky in that regard, but so it didn't smell too bad. There were like 3 showers there, so everyone was clean. But I was there. Kevin Smith was there as well doing something. I don't know. Kevin Smith things. He was on a podcast, or not a podcast.
He was probably going there to answer questions. He answered one question and talked for 4 hours.
Yeah. And he was a part of a panel or something. And I remember I was standing in a line for Jim Lee and Frank Miller. That's a whole different story there. But I wanted to meet...
Not Jim Miller and Frank Lee?
No.
Okay.
Yes. But I was there for Jim Lee, not Frank Miller.
Not Frank Miller. No. Who wants to see Frank Miller?
Frank Miller, actually, because the line was so long, he...
Was Frank Miller in line for Jim Lee?
No. He stood up at, like...
Did he have his comic book? Was he waiting to get it signed eagerly?
No, I don't think he liked Jim Lee very much, because everyone was there to see him. But 15 minutes in, Frank Miller stood up and said, if anyone just wants to meet me, you can cut everybody else. Literally nobody in the line of like 200-300 people moved.
I imagine him saying that in Batman voice.
RoboCop 3 voice.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
He doesn't like talking about that.
He wrote RoboCop 2 and RoboCop 3.
Yeah.
He doesn't like talking about either of them because he hates Hollywood.
Yep. And next time I meet him, I've decided I'm going to be the biggest RoboCop 3 fan.
Make sure you take a script for him to sign.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna wear the hat and everything.
Yeah. Okay. So story.
So I'm standing in line. It's kind of boring, but I'm nervous because Jim Lee and I'm barely 20, maybe.
What is Jim Lee famous for drawing? Because you remember I suck at names, so refresh me.
He did the Hush Batman.
Okay. Which I actually have.
Yeah. Great Batman story.
It's very good.
He was, but the reason that Frank Miller and Jim Lee were both there was for All-Star Batman and Robin #1 just came out. And everyone was super
excited. It's a terrible book.
Yes.
It is my all-time guilty pleasure comic book because it is so wretchedly bad and so wretchedly readable. Like, I hate myself every time I read it and enjoy it every time I like open the pages because it's
Like
so
the first
bad.
issue was so good that the first issue just came out and everyone's super excited, and then the issue 2 came out and they're like, wait, what?
It's like a roller coaster where every time you hit the crest, they then feel the need to slap you in the face before it goes back down, and then right when it's about to be terrible, they then give you the biggest prize you could ever hope for. So it's like this weird adrenaline rush of hating and loving yourself as you read the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Oh,
I still hate myself.
But you still
I
read
sold
it.
it to people. How do you think I feel?
I bought the copy from you that had the poorly censored naughty words in it.
Yeah.
That was.
I remember that.
That's
I still have
still
that.
in my collection.
I have that too. I don't think it's worth anything.
I do wish I'd gotten the more recent issue of Batman with the bat genitalia just for the collector's sake portion of it.
We didn't put his Speedo on all the way, just one ball's just hanging.
No, full frontal nudity. Didn't you hear about that?
Oh, that one, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so back to the story.
Yeah, ADD.
So you're in line with. I'm helping you shade the story, giving you details.
Yeah, so I'm in line, and it's very crowded Chicago, and at the time I'm also, since I just found my nerdiness, I guess, or accepted it, I should say, more so. You know, I was a huge Kevin Smith fan. I worshipped everything he did almost. You know, because I was kind of a fledgling wannabe filmmaker at the time, and. And so his story was like, that's like me. I work in a shop and like I'm underappreciated. So
you said that very like Kevin Smith.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so like his backstory just kind of resonated with me when I was 20.
Yeah.
As it does. And I was a 90s kid. So
yeah.
So he comes out of whatever panel room he was in, and I was like, Kevin Smith. And I try to wave him down. He looks at me with the dirtiest look that I've ever been given to this day and says, fuck off, kid. And don't know if you've ever been cussed out by one of your old heroes, but not a good feeling. And I was very, very upset. It hurt. Yeah. Kevin Smith hurt me. So I was
talking. Was on the doll where Kevin Smith hurt you.
The heart. I'm pointing to the heart, not the nipple. So I was angry because he was just complete douchebag. A
rude dick, yeah.
And I didn't do anything. I just said hi to him. And I know being a celebrity is pretty annoying, I'm sure, but I'm cussing him out. I leave the line with Jim Lee, and I don't remember any of really what happened there. Frank Miller.
When you get angry, you get like blackout angry.
Yeah, and Frank Miller was a dick. He hit on my ex-girlfriend at the time. Pretty much said, "This is my hotel room." So I was pissed off at him kind of too, but I didn't care because
it's Frank Miller.
And so I'm just cussing him out. I'm talking to my friends like, "Fuck Kevin Smith! If I ever see that fat fucker," because I wasn't fat at the time, so that was an insult. I was like, I want to fucking beat his ass, and I wouldn't actually beat his ass because I'm a pacifist, but I was angry.
And you're a nerd, so it's like flailing with butterfly wings.
And like while I'm saying that, I run into somebody who's on his phone, and he turns around, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry, man. I'm just angry," or something. And he goes, "Were you talking shit about Kevin Smith?" I was like, "Yeah, fuck that guy." And then like his voice sounded familiar, but I didn't put two and two together. And he goes, "Oh, he's just a little angry right now." I'm like, "Doesn't fucking matter. Fuck him." And I started to leave, and he goes, "What did he do?" And I'm like, "God damn it, now I talked to this asshole." And I finally put two together. It's fucking Jason Mewes just standing there on his BlackBerry, and he's on his phone. He's like, "Hey man, I'm gonna call you back. I'm talking to a fan." Because I'm like, Jason Mewes. And I'm sitting there talking to him for like a good 5-10 minutes. We take pictures and stuff, and he hugs me, and which I was like, okay. And
he seems like a friendly guy.
No, he was super friendly, and like I always thought it would have been the opposite reaction. Like he was super nice, and like I said, took pictures with us, and he was like, "Yeah, sometimes that fat fuck is just kind of He's like, some fans were saying some shit about him, so don't take it personally. He's not really like that." And I'm like, whatever. It's like, but it's nice meeting you, Jason Mewes. But it was like the weirdest and most surreal thing that's ever happened to me. I wish I still had I'm sure I have those pictures somewhere, but yeah, it was, so I have a personal thing against Kevin Smith. And so like ever since then, like I feel like I've unfairly judged everything that he's done after
Like
Dogma.
rating it higher than you should have, or rating it lower?
Lower. So, like...
And then you still like Clerks,
I do.
the animated series,
Yeah.
and,
No, I mean,
and
he
the
can be a
second
dick
movie.
and I can still find stuff funny. Like, I'm still like, they're remaking Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. You didn't hear about that?
They're not remaking it, are they?
Oh, they are remaking it.
Why would they do that?
I guess he wanted another go. And they had what's her name? Jason Mewes' love interest in
that movie?
Yeah.
No, it was the chick from American Pie. The sexy chick from American Pie. I can't remember what her name was.
I can't remember. It's not Felicity Jones, though.
No, it's certainly not.
I don't think.
They're bringing her back again?
Yeah, she's in
Are
it.
you sure it's not just a sequel?
No, it's a remake. They're rebooting it.
Okay.
So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, okay. Anyway,
But yeah, I'm still gonna go see it, and I've seen all of his other movies, and I'm gonna say something that you might make fun of me for.
Okay.
But I didn't mind Jersey Girl.
I forgot. I honestly forgot that movie even existed.
Yeah.
Like I just didn't remember it. He made that in between Jay and Silent Bob and Clerks II because he was trying to say, okay, this universe is over. I'm never revisiting it. And then Jersey Girl bombed because I thought it was an awful movie.
I mean, it wasn't great, but
no, it's bad. It's treacly and awful. And I mean, maybe I would have judged it more fairly if it didn't have the Kevin Smith name on it, but it didn't feel like a Kevin Smith movie.
Oh, no, not at all.
No,
and it wasn't funny at all.
And if it hadn't been for the Kevin Smith name on it, I wouldn't have watched the movie to begin with. And that's the problem. Like, I can't see any reason to justify seeing it if it's not a Kevin Smith movie. And I can't see any reason to justify seeing it if it is a Kevin Smith movie.
Yeah.
So... And then after Clerks 2, when he stopped making those movies again, I stopped watching his stuff because nothing he's done since has really appealed to me. Like, I like horror movies, and Tusk doesn't sound like something I want to watch.
Tusk I couldn't get through it. Red was pretty good.
Red State?
Yeah, Red State. Not Red. Red's a Bruce Willis movie.
But there is a connection between Bruce Willis and Kevin Smith, so I can see that,
Yeah.
And then I didn't bother watching Yoga Hosers because that just...
I watched part of it, and it wasn't bad for what I saw.
No. I mean, I'll still give him a chance if he ever gets to make Clerks 3 or Mallrats 2, like he keeps bandying about. If either of those happen, I don't know how I feel about a Jay and Silent Bob remake.
I think there was a lot he wanted to do with the original movie, but
they're not the same characters anymore.
But I think that I think the studio kind of fucked him a little bit with Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. But again,
I don't know.
It's the same issue that I said before, where he makes great stories but can't edit out of a paper bag or a paper bag.
So. Oh well, we'll see how that goes. If nothing else, maybe one day someone will make a proper sequel to Clerks the Animated Series.
If only.
Clerks the Animated Series 2, The Next Generation.
Electric Boogaloo.
My favorite line from Jay and Silent Bob is the deleted scene that didn't even make it into the movie. It's when the two clerks, Dante and Randall, are hanging out, and Dante says something, and Randall looks over and goes, if you'd been funny like that, maybe ABC wouldn't have canceled us. Such a good line.
It was too ahead of its time.
It was. Oh, I love that show.
I don't know why ABC picked it up, but whatever.
And by the way, just putting it out there, Alec Baldwin, if you ever want to come on this show and talk about Clerks the Animated Series, we would love to have you. It'd be so good.
You cannot talk about anything else, though.
I'd love to talk about other stuff, but mostly he has to talk about Clerks the Animated Series. Like, maybe a 90-10 ratio.
Yeah.
We mostly just want to get stories about him playing Leonardo.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I want.
Me too.
Yeah.
But why were you walking like that?
Seriously, why were you walking like that?
Was it some sort of gay thing?
Did you build the desk yourself that you got from IKEA?
I have all these pieces left.
Tell me, was it truly exquisite?
Exquisite.
Such a good performance. Anyway, I'm Mike Finkelstein.
I'm Sexy Josh the Pharaoh Wizard.
Yes, you are. This has been Not So Live from Asteroid G, and we will see you next time.
Domo Toshiro-san.